Alright everybody, welcome back to another Xvault gaming video. Xvault here, and today we're going to do a first of a series. This is going to be called Thoughts from the Vault. This is going to be an opinion piece based with some facts and other methods as well, some contingency to competency and stuff like that in regards to gaming, of course. So this edition, starting off, we're going to be talking about hero shooters. In this case, some of the two newest ones to hit the scene are going to be hitting the scene, which is going to be Concord and of course Marvel Rivals. So let's have a chat. Let's talk about them both. My experiences in the beta. Are any of them any good? Am I capping? Am I just pushing a brand? Let's talk about that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump to it. Alright, so like I said, what we're going to do is go over the two hero shooters in regards to this subject matter for this edition, right? We're talking about Concord, we're then also talking about Marvel Rivals. Now let's do some comparisons, let's go and pick these apart one by one. First, let's start off with Concord and my experience with this game. Now, this game, as you know, as I felt in the comments, whether it's on social media or within my videos in general, there's a very varied opinion on the matter of Concord. Why? Well, because it has some controversy with it. What is that controversy? We're talking about SBI. What is SBI? Sweet Baby Inc. They've had their hands in a multitude of games out there in regards to what others would quote to be, too woke, or trying to pander to certain audiences and such like that. So right out the gate, Concord is getting a bad rap for that, first of all. Second of all, I cannot defend this part of it. It is some of the character designs. Some of the character designs are really just bland, or they are basically distasteful in a way, like they're kind of jarring to the human eye. Like we want something that looks cool, or they want something that catches your eye, not just big old piles of metal or garbage or big old exosuits that just leave little to the imagination of what the character you're controlling is. So I understand that. Again, I cannot defend that portion of it, but there are some cool character designs on some of them. It's not a 100% negative towards the character design. Some of them are really well done, and some of them are really greatly done in regards to backstory as well. That being said, if we want to push on the ordeal of pronouns, right? It shouldn't be an issue, personally. I'm not sitting there picking my character based on their pronoun or their sexual identity or their sexual orientation or, anything like that. This is a team hero shooter. I'm here mostly to play a team hero shooter with my friends, and that's exactly what I did. So all that negative controversy aside, now other folks are going to come in and say, well, it's boring, it's not good, what does it offer that's different than Overwatch? Well, I don't know. Let's start with one, and that is it's not a broken meta right now. What happens in the future to that, I don't know, as they expand the roster and so on and so forth, but right now, it is not a broken mess. It is not a broken mess when trying to, there are some runaway games, you're always going to have that, but it's not a broken meta. It's not a broken matchmaking system, so to speak. The gameplay itself is absolutely phenomenal. It feels fleshed out. It feels like a mix of Overwatch and Destiny and, right? The quality is there, folks. The aiming down the sights, every character feels different in movement, in abilities, you name it. It truly feels different. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm playing Tracer again. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm playing this and that again. You can tell that Itzy, the alien lady, she can kind of be attributed to Tracer in a way, but it does play quite a bit different. At this point in time, all sorts of games have been out there. All sorts of games have been played. You're going to have a lot of similarities. That's just the way it is. Whether it's an FPS game, whether it's a team shooter, whether it's an RPG, whatever the case is, there's always going to be comparisons. Now, this game I did have a blast with. Me and my friends, we had a blast, as you've seen on stream, the couple times I did stream it in between the short beta periods there. We did have fun. No one was forced. I'm not capping. I'm not lying. I'm not pushing an agenda. The game was legitimately fun. I also feel like the game is fairly priced. $40 is not bad. Another negative criticism towards this game is that it is $40 and not a free-to-play game. The quality in here screams, this is $40. If not more, if you wanted to make that case. And no, I'm not just making this up. And again, you don't have to agree. You don't have to love the game if you have your own opinions on it. I understand. That's not what this is about. This is about me being completely honest. I had fun, and anybody I've seen play this had a smile on their face. If you did not have a smile on your face playing this, I don't know what to say. I really don't, because it comes down to the experience, to each his own kind of thing. Now, as far as the gameplay itself, if you go in this playing by yourself, and I have played by myself and not with a group, any game that's like a team-based shooter or even COD or whatever the case is, it's not as fun when you're playing by yourself. It's much funner to play with your friends and family. That's just how it works. So if you are playing alone and you're one-off a couple of matches, of course you're not going to have the same experience as someone like myself did. That, again, goes across the board for any hero shooter or any sort of, multiplayer game. And on top of that, folks, it's really cool. I like the art direction as a whole. The maps are fun. The fact that you do switch off, it gives you buffs from switching your characters. Not needlessly, but you make a path. Maybe you do somebody that gives you the ability to be faster. Maybe you give somebody the ability to reload faster. So whoever you die with on the character, you swap to someone else, that buff then stays with the next character up to 3 stacks. So that's kind of the strategy behind it. Now, if you don't die at all and you're that good, that's where the pendulum swings, right? Maybe that swings in the enemy's favor. They start getting a little bit of an advantage to come back, but there's a lot of nuance to this game. There's a lot of, depth and strategy to this game, like I was stating. The scenes and the episodes that they're giving you as well weekly, I think those are really well done. They're super short. They're nothing to write home about, like, you know what? This scene just changed my life. This scene changed the game for me. No, maybe that'll change in the future. That I don't know. However, I think this is a really good, competent game. And one final point I want to make at Concord before we move over to Marvel Rivals here, is the fact that, you know what, folks keep picking at the fact that it's $40, right? $40, even if this game, worst case scenario, this game is not going to be shut down before an entire year once it releases. $40 for an entire year for a game that you would enjoy or might enjoy is actually really, really good. I've spent $70 plus on games that I played one time or once through and haven't ever touched again. So I think the value is absolutely there. I don't feel or see anything that has been littered with microtransactions or anything like that. I'm sure there will be some. That's what a games as a service is. But there is supposedly no battle pass. There's none of this other janky stuff. It feels good. Nothing but positives for the most part on this game. Does it have some shortcomings? For sure. Like I said, some of the character designs are just really wacky, and it does have a little bit of a steep learning curve at first, in my opinion. The loading times could be a little bit better, but I attribute that to probably how good the graphics are and how that loads up, just like Destiny 2 takes a little while, or even Destiny 1 took a little while to load up for your screens. It's not abhorrent, it's not horrible, but it does kind of break it down a little bit more, right? Rather than pop, which I'll get to in Marvel Rivals here because those were instant. Another negative here that people are going to harp on real quick is the fact that these are new characters. It's a new IP, it's a new characters. Of course, once we'll get to Marvel Rivals here, you're going to have something that's a standard IP. We all have had Marvel since the 1960s, am I right? So of course we're going to be well off knowing these characters and so on and so forth. So that is an uphill battle as well. But folks, I'll tell you what, we'll see what happens. I'm not saying it's going to be a runaway success or anything close to that, but I think it is a very competent game. And if the community does back the game and actually play it and give it a chance, I promise you're going to have some fun with this. There's no agenda that I'm seeing that's being forced down a throat right now. The character design, some of them again are trash. Cannot defend that. But there's nothing else aside from that that's sitting there saying, hey, we have an involvement from SBI that's super, super bad and apparent. The pronoun stuff is super small at the top left-hand side of the screen. I mean, what are we aiming towards here? We're just hating to hate at this point, and it's so bizarre to me. It really is. That's like me coming up on here making a video capping for Foam Stars, capping for Destruction All-Stars. And I know some of you still even like those games, but I'm going to call a spade here. I played both. I played the beta extensively on Foam Stars. I did not buy it. Both of those games were not it. We should have had a Twisted Metal easily in place of All-Stars, Destruction All-Stars, right? We should have had something else from Square Enix other than foam stars. It just, making this Splatoon wannabe type of game, it wasn't it. It was messy, it wasn't good, but I'm not going to go into detail there because that's not what this is about. We're having two subject matters here. That being said, let's shift over to Marvel Rivals now and my thoughts and opinions on that. Now, Marvel Rivals, starting that up, I was able to get into the closed beta recently. I do enjoy the fact that lasted an extended amount of time. It wasn't just a weekend or something like that. I felt like Concord needed to be out more, but maybe they're polishing it. But anyways, at first firing this up, the first thing I thought was, okay, NetEase or Netmarble, one of the two, whoever created that. The art direction is fantastic. Again, I mean, it takes somebody special if you're going to mess up the art direction of a Marvel IP. It has been done, I get it, but they didn't mess it up. It's super well done. That is my number one piece of it that I think is fantastic. The second piece of it that I really enjoyed was the roster size right out the gate. Just for a beta, for a closed beta, we have such an extensive roster already, and they added 2 more towards the tail end of the beta itself, being Thor and Jeff the Shark, which I did not even know. For being a Marvel fan, a huge Marvel fan, I had no idea who Jeff the Shark was, and I had to look up the lore and, what issues he was in and stuff like that because I wanted to know more about him. That being said, the roster is absolutely phenomenal already, and the sky's the limit for what they do with characters and what role they'll be, whether it's a Vanguard, which is a tank, whether it's a DPS character, damage, or whether it's a support or healer type of character, right? So I never would have thought that Doctor Strange would have been a Vanguard, which is a tank role. I think that's interesting. I could see he could be one, but I would have thought he'd be DPS or support, if anything, right? So just a few nuances, but again, doesn't make or break the game, doesn't take you out of the lore or anything like that. Starting right off, it is a little janky. And what do I mean by janky? I mean, folks, I mean, it feels more akin to Paladins, right? We're talking about another hero shooter, Paladins, right? It feels janky in regards to aiming and stuff like that. But a little bit smoother, right? A little bit smoother, but it does have that feel. So when I brought up NetEase, Netmarble, whatever they're called, they are, I think, primarily a mobile game company. So this is their first type of mainstream, main console, PC type of game. I could be wrong. If I am, I do apologize, but I thought I looked up otherwise. But once I did get used to those controls, because they're not quite as bad as Paladins, and you do get used to them. It's not as crisp or good a quality as you're getting from Concord in regards to aiming, as aside from abilities and how the accuracy is working for you, right? It's just not there. It's night and day. Coming from Concord and over to Marvel Rivals, there's a stark and vast difference in regards to that. Again, but once you start catching on, it is a little bit of a steep learning curve too, because the more characters that you do have to your roster, and just like I had a steep learning curve even to Concord, it takes a while to get used to the characters, and even though you know the roles, they just all perform so differently, and how they work is there delays for ultimates and stuff like that. And another comparison I want to make to Concord is I almost like the fact that there are no ultimates over there, by the way, because you're not waiting for this ultimate to happen. It's actually based on skills and the abilities that you have. So you're not waiting for example, Scarlet Witch here in Marvel Rivals to do her pure chaos and scream and just annihilate anybody in this ginormous circular explosion that she does that one-shots everybody pretty much, except for tanks. But if you have a few ticks off of your health as a tank, you're still going down often. So, you're just waiting for those wipes from the ultimates. So I do applaud, again, Concord honestly not having ultimates. However, that being said, ultimates make sense in a Marvel game because we're using really powerful beings, right? Scarlet Witch, Storm, Thor, all sorts of folks. Doctor Strange, I mean, you want them to feel powerful. You want them to be, almighty, so to speak. And they are. They do feel that way for the most part. Some of the stuff, I'm sure, again, closed beta, so there's a lot of tweaks and everything that they will and can do. Black Panther feels like the perfect Genji from Overwatch before they nerfed the crap out of Genji and had to really figure out different nuanced ways to get your kills. Black Panther is just an all-in, get it done, get out kind of thing. If you're good, you're good. And that's saying something, because I didn't also feel like the meta was broken yet or anything in Marvel Rivals. And again, it's because it's probably too early. Down the line, when the roster severely expands, we're probably going to have some issues. So I thought that was interesting as well, that I didn't feel like, I mean, there's a couple DPS characters that you're like, they're kind of broken if you play them a certain way. But really, if you have a good enough character, and I've seen some crazy people get good with certain characters already, where, for example, I'm really, really good at Iron Man, and I had a Hulk on the enemy team finding ways to neutralize me, and I'm an aerial dude. And so to perfectly, accurately jump up and grab my character, slam him down, then stun me with a big old clap, I have to give props. That was pure skill, and, good on you. I mean, you're Hulk. You're a ground level character, and you're up there getting me in the air as Iron Man, which was crazy. I could see that from Punisher or Star-Lord or something like that. But I'll tell you what, they pull no punches in regards to making it pretty damn obvious into copying a lot of Overwatch's abilities. For example, Star-Lord being almost a Tracer knockoff or ripoff, except with flight, so almost a more powerful, but then combine the ultimate with that of Soldier 76, where you had that auto-aim, aimbot kind of thing going on. Very powerful. Punisher. You can hit R1 or L1 or whatever you want to call it on your system of choice there that's available on, but you can get in a turret mode, aka Bastion. So he's like a mix of, the assault rifle from Soldier 76, but you can do a turret mode for Bastion, and the cooldown isn't too far and few between that stuff. So you can just go to town on a lot of these characters, but a lot of them are really similar in a lot of ways. Magneto reminds me a lot of Sigma. You name it. So it's a lot of comparison heavy stuff, but I did really enjoy Iron Man because obviously he's pretty similar to Farah, but I felt a lot better as far as movement and the abilities to get away and around, where Farah is just a float. If you're not playing the corners well, you're going to get caught out. Where Iron Man, if you see things getting a little hairy and you're paying attention, you can get out of dodge. So I do like those abilities as well. And then as far as support, I was really a big fan of Loki and finding his abilities to find your duplicates, teleport around them, get extra, damage with all three of your clones, and then of course healing with the hits and so on and so forth. The team up abilities are also fantastic. I think that adds another layer as well. Whether you're Groot and you can have either Rocket or Jeff jump on your shoulder, and it gives you both a little bit of a defensive buff, plus you can both act yourselves accordingly. Of course, Groot being the controller of the two, but you can still do your abilities and stuff as the other character for the other person, if that makes sense. And there's just, and you want to do those team up abilities. For another example, right? If somebody's Hulk on my team, and I'm playing Iron Man, I get some gamma radiation buffs for my abilities. You trigger your, let's say, triangle button. That's going to give you your buff for your blast and your unibeam as well. And the damage goes up exponentially. Now, if Hulk wasn't on my team, I'm still doing okay, and I can make it work. But you're definitely going to see some advantages if you make those teamwork abilities work and you coordinate accordingly, again, with your friends. If you're playing on your own, it's going to be hit and miss. People don't want to play certain roles. People don't want to play certain team-ups because maybe they're not as strong with certain characters. The list goes on and on. But there's a lot of opportunity and benefits. And folks, by the end of the day, not only did I have a lot of fun with Concord, but I had a hell of a lot of fun with Marvel Rivals as well, and they were both different. One being a first-person game that had a lot of different gameplay and abilities and a nuance in the quality, and then you have Marvel Rivals, which was absolutely fantastic with a character roster, art direction, and the ability to see what's going to happen in the future with, characters like Captain America, Ghost Rider, Winter Soldier, the list goes on and on. You name the Marvel character, it's going to end up being there, and that's what's really exciting for the future of Marvel Rivals and trying to mix and match what would work best for your team. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there. But again, I think there's a lot of opportunity with Concord if it stays the course and if people do support it in the right way without making a predetermined judgment on a game they haven't played. And if you did play it, did you play just an hour or two? Or did you play less than that? And then you didn't get a good feel and you had your mind already made up? Of course, you're not going to like any game like that. And again, if you're not a fan of team shooters in general, neither of these games are going to be up your alley, and that's also okay. Again, this is not an agenda piece. This is not me trying to get you to like or buy Concord. This is not me trying to get you to like or buy Rivals. This is giving you an opinion piece and me playing multiple hours into both of those games during the beta period. Cannot wait to put my hands back on Concord to see what other maps are there, to see what else happens with this game. And you know what? My $40, even if it lasts a year, I think it's money well spent. And in regards to Marvel Rivals, I wish it was coming out sooner rather than waiting to 2025. I understand they have a lot of work to do, and they appreciate the feedback and all that, but I am jonesing for both of those games. I'm a big team shooter fan because it just kind of is nice to just jump in and have some fun and some commemorative fun with friends and family. So I really recommend both of these games. But again, if that's not your cup of tea, that's okay. But I appreciate this chat. If you made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate that as well. Listening to what I had to say. Please let me know what your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section are below. Did you get your hands on any of the betas? What's your thoughts and opinions on both? Do you plan on playing either of these games when the time comes? Would love to hear from you, of course. Both of those things also help out the algorithm, the likes and comments, so definitely do so. Please, thank you so much. And if you haven't already, definitely consider subscribing, helping out a small content creator like myself. That being said, enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and we will see you next time on the next Xvault gaming video. And until then, take care.